Quiet on the set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Action!
Today's episode, AKAPADers, welcome back. It's the weekend. We'd like to talk animation. Right now, it's Fantastic Four Superman month. I'm going to tell you right now, we haven't had the rollout. Team AKAPAD didn't quite have the rollout that we wanted to in July. A lot of good, a lot of bad reasons. Content-wise, we still done a lot of episodes for the show. We've done live videos. We've been on some live streams. We've done our own live streams. Been productive, but not at a high enough pace. Just not there. So I just want to apologize. But guys, if you love conversation, if you love the idea of doing the deep dive and being critical and pulling in your personal history and your anecdotes and rolling it into history, productions and creators and artists and actors and actresses, well, this is what the Film Buff podcast is all about. And today's conversation, it really brings me back. Like, geez, we talked about this. This was Peter at the comic shop, where 2004, it just seemed like Pixar could do no wrong. And I remember seeing The Incredibles because, like, back then, me, a couple of the kids from the comic shop, by kids, I mean people I work with, but friends, like, we saw every movie. That's just what we did. I wasn't involved or cared too much about nightlife. That really didn't come till later. Maybe even 10 years later. No, I was a geek. Dated girls, liked animation, talked about it, spent time in bookstores, worked at a comic shop. And saw everything that came out. Pixar at the time just seemed to be this unstoppable force. Like, it was like I remember watching Ants and then watching Bug's Life. And just knowing that even though I think Ants is the better punch, the better story, but Bug's Life just had this gloss to it. Incredibles, Toy Story, Monsters Inc. Like, even first time I saw Monsters Inc., I was just blown away. I couldn't believe that the characters were so real, so easily. Like, things, this computer generation, this computer animation, like, things were effing alive. It blew you away. And you get this Incredibles that comes out. And I don't want to talk to you too much about the writer-director, Brad Bird. I'm not talking to you about the franchise Incredibles. I haven't seen, is it 2 or 3 sequel? Like, I don't even know how many spin-offs and sequels the Incredibles has. You think it would just be a animated series by now on Disney Plus. I mean, I guess eventually they'll do a live-action Incredibles. So this movie comes out, and it's the heyday of the comic shop. And the comic shop is Holy Heroes, New Jersey. And the next year, the Fantastic Four movie drops, which we've talked about, spoke about, and covered. We spent time with that franchise on this channel. I mean, on this podcast. And the reason is I back those movies. I really do. 2007, the sequel, Rise of the Silver Surfer, I think is awesome. I think that's such a cool movie. I think that's the best Silver Surfer we will ever get. Comic accurate and all. So, but within the comic shop, I mean, as soon as Incredibles hits, everyone's like, it's that family. They're the Fantastic Four. Like, they even have costumes similar to the Kirby design. I mean, really, it's you almost just swap out the red for the blue, the black for the white. It interchangeable. And we looked at the Incredibles as this like perfect version of what failed with the Fantastic Four movie at the time, and that was it was popular to say that. It was popular to believe it. It was good to repeat it. People just thought you had the insight, observation. But then, for me, a lot of time goes by. A lot of time goes by. A lot of red comics go by. I'm talking about reams and boxes of Fantastic Four. I would say maybe like everything outside of the 70s. That's kind of my FF dark spot. And for a lot of people, most people can't tell you what FF did for that entire decade. It wasn't until the 80s that, as a book, it came back. Pretty much had an end in the 90s with the Onslaught storyline. Ended at issue 416, got rebooted, then rebooted again, and like again, it just kind of spiraled since that initial cancellation. So my Fantastic Four knowledge, it's grown exponentially, my friends. And we can't compare the two. I mean, we can compare the two with their families. They have similar power sets, similar costumes, and that's it. Because here's the thing. The Incredibles are their action. It's an action driven franchise, we'll call it. If we have to call The Incredibles a franchise, we'll call it a franchise. Property, right? It's action driven. Fantastic Four, and this is truly what makes it unique, and in its core, any interpretation needs to include this. The Fantastic Four, number one, they're the first family of comics, meaning they're the greatest, the most royal family of comics. They're not quite the dysfunctional living in a suburban house family. I mean, the contrast of the family dynamics are very different. Sure, they bicker, but again, an easy crumb of a commonality. The Fantastic Four, they're explorers. They're reaching into the unknown. They're the ones that talk to gods. They negotiate human life off of an equation. The Incredibles punch things. Or, what's the kid's name? Dash. They outrun things. So the comparison's just not there. And back in the day, I remember, we worked with this guy. He looked like Triple H. His name was Bill. The worst type of thief to work with. But somehow, was emotionally blackmailed the owner never to get fired. That's a relationship that I still need some closure on. But Bill, he was all in with Fantastic Four. He knew the Kirby Stanley gospel. And he was great to talk about this stuff with. And he said that the Incredibles were the Fantastic Four. So, it got repeated, I'm sure. Wizard Magazine at the time. And, I'm sure it got written about. I'm sure it got the comparison there. You can argue that one took away the thunder. One stole the thunder away from the other. If The Incredibles never came out, potentially Fantastic Four might have had a bigger box office. Might have been received a little bit better. But to the non-converted general audience, or the normies as we like to call it now, they would just watch The Incredibles and then a year later see a Fantastic Four advertisement and be like, what the hell? We'll just go back to watching Incredibles. Like we've already spent time with that concept. Don't beat us over the head with it again. Why is there live action Incredibles a year later? Why is Jessica Alba wearing contact lenses? Why does she have a wig? Like all this stuff. And back then, it's like, like you kind of would give this Bill guy some credit. Like, hey, that's a acute observation there. Yeah, because you you go for credit points in comic shops. But the wild thing is, for anyone with a critical brain, there's no comparison. Not even when it comes to motivation, when it comes to villains, when it comes to the world that they live in. Again, the Baxter building versus, I don't know, like, who's that weird lady with the glasses that makes her costumes? Like, I don't know. Like, Syndrome is not Doctor Doom. And it goes on and on. It's such a silly comparison. And I'm happy to have moved on from it. And I'm happy to be able to eloquently make the argument. It's a silly thing. The Incredibles are The Incredibles. Slightly inspired by FF. But FF is FF, baby. You can't compare.
Okay, that's a wrap.